Hey guys, it's Laura with Themagicofwhitepages today, and today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up. In September, I actually read quite a few books, but I actually added half of those books from half of the year into my summer wrap-up because I had already read them and there was no point in not talking about them then. So in the end of September, I ended up finishing up 4 books. And they all got pretty good ratings actually. And one of these books actually wasn't even on my reading list. I just kind of went to the library and I was like, okay, I'm going to read this. So without further ado, let's get started with wrapping up. The first book that I finished reading towards the end of the second half of September was The Reptile Room, and the second book in the series of Unfortunate Event by Lemony Snicket. This book actually was so much better than the first one. The first one was good. Granted, it was interesting enough to keep me reading. I did like this one so much better. I felt it was a lot more appropriate and easier for children to understand. I ended up giving it 3.5. The first one I gave 2.5. I ended up, it's like, I'd probably give it more of a 3.8 maybe, closer to 4, because I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. Even if you're older, I feel like you should try and pick up the series just for the enjoyment of it. It's funny in a dreary type way, as in it's just like the irony of it all, and I feel that's one of the things that just really appeals to it. It's just like, just when you think something could go right, it all goes wrong. But it's not like that's a surprise, because the entire pretense of the series is, don't read this book if you don't like, if you're looking for a happy ending, because you're not gonna get it, which makes it kind of intriguing in a way. That's why I really enjoy it, and I can't wait to finish the rest of the series. I can't find them, so I'm just like, The next book I ended up finishing towards the end was actually the series of novellas, which was Stars Above by Marissa Mayer. I couldn't exactly rate this based off of just the individual novellas, because that would take too long. Some of the novellas I had already read, and some of the copies of my books I had actually gotten included in it, so I just kind of passed over those ones and read like little sections that I remember. And I read all the ones that I hadn't read yet. There's quite a few things that you don't really get a bunch of new information for. In certain novellas, it's like I can say, the one about Cress, you really honestly don't get more information than what you already knew. Winter's novella, you actually do get a lot more background into her life prior to what we already knew. Scarlett's one is actually not from the perspective of Scarlett's, but from the perspective of her grandmother, which is actually really neat because you get more perspective on that. Wolf's made me cry and get very angry, and I just was so frustrated and gave me so many feels to the point that I was like, I'm so glad that I read this. Even if you're someone who you're not much on reading something that you technically already know the information for and you don't want to be expanded, it's still worth the read because the last novella is actually the proper conclusion to the series. If you didn't like the way that Winter ended, maybe you should pick up Stars Above for the fact that there is another ending to it that you didn't know about. And there is actually a short story in there that actually isn't portrayed from the characters that we already know, but new characters, and I was so pleasantly surprised. So definitely check this out if you are a big fan of the Luna Chronicles and the characters and you just want to get more into that world. I wish they had done something like this when Harry Potter ended, some kind of novella, so you could get an expansion on more of the characters and just little things here and there. It is like a gift that she gave us so that when it ends, we can still go back and still get more things that we didn't have before. I ended up giving this 5 stars. My unexpected read for this month, this is Everything Everything, and I actually ended up picking it up because I was taking the little ones that I watched to the library for a little while and they were playing, so I just decided to go browsing through the shelf. I picked up Everything Everything and just kind of casually started reading the pages. By the time that we left, I was already 20 pages in and I was like, whoa, blown away. For me, I actually really enjoyed this. I guarantee you this book is probably not for everybody, but for me, it actually had a great standing for me because I actually have a sister that is chronically ill. So reading a book about somebody that has one very rare and obscure sickness really drew me in because I felt like, in a way, my family and I could relate. So it was very personal to me. There was some stuff in it that I really didn't like, and there was some things where I was kind of like, towards the end, like there's this one plot twist towards the end, and I wasn't sure what I thought about it and whether I agreed with the plot twist and thought it was an okay thing or if it really was appropriate. By the time I got completely done the book, I was kind of past that, and I was like, you know, I can understand where the author was coming from. So I ended up giving this book 4.3, 4.4 stars, I believe. You could just round it up to 4.5, really, honestly, because there's not really any other way to put it. But I really enjoyed it.
And then I was really upset because I found out right after I read it that there is confirmation for a movie. And I saw who got casted for the main character, and I was like, yes, that's actually who I was picturing. I was picturing her. And then I was like, oh, poo. That means that I already read the book. And now I'm going to watch the movie, and I'm going to be all judgy. I don't like doing that. I'm actually planning on doing a segment on why I actually rewatched the movie before reading the book. But, yeah. So, read the book, found out this going to be a movie. I'm excited to see the movie, but a little upset at myself because I already read the book.
But it was a really good book. I highly recommend picking it up. Like I said, though, it's not for everybody. If you don't like it, that's nothing wrong with that. If you don't like it, like I said, I did have actually felt like a personal connection to this book, which kind of drew me towards it to begin with. Actually, I didn't know what it was about until after I picked it up and started reading it. So, and the last book that I ended up finishing in the last of September was The Battle of the Labyrinth by Rick Riordan. This is the 4th book in the Percy Jackson series, and this is not my copy of Percy Jackson. This is my sister's, because after I got done, I lost my book, and I can't find it anywhere, and I'm really upset because I have my first edition hardcover copies of these, and I'm freaking out, guys, because Percy Jackson is very, very special to me, and I can't find it anywhere. And I've looked all over the house, I've looked all over my room, I even looked at work to make sure, because I was reading it there a little bit to make sure, and I didn't find it there either, and I'm just like devastated. I ended up giving this again 5 stars. I love this book for the fact that it does have a lot of character development. I just think the timelines are ridiculous. That's like one of my only complaints with these series, is the ridiculous time span that things have to be done, because it's just like, I can't even brush my teeth on time and get out of bed on time, let alone save the world in 3 days and 2 minutes. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this wrap up. Hopefully at the end of October I may have some more interesting books that I have finished and completed. And it's just like, I know that doesn't seem like I had a lot. There actually was more in September. Like I said, this is technically the second half of September of what I read. And I have told myself I'm not going to read just to read. I'm going to read to enjoy. And so it is going to be a little bit slower than what it was before because of that reason. But thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more. And thank you for listening to my ramblings. And